What's going on, everybody? It's Big Chonis. How's everybody doing tonight? Happy Saturday night. Just wanted to come talk to you guys live, checking out some Bitcoin price action, taking a look at some altcoins, to really see what's going on in our crypto world as we have a Saturday going on into Sunday's price action tomorrow, which will close out the week of our price action as we close out our week into our new month of March. So we have a lot to look at in terms of our monthly candle, weekly candle, daily candle, and seeing several days of this just incredibly tight price action as we've been consolidating from this bearish move, and the market tries to figure out kind of what the next move is and what the next direction is going to be. You guys can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Big Chonis. I'm a cryptocurrency trader, an investor, a mentor, a chart psychologist, feature contributor to Bitcoin Live. I love doing these YouTube videos here. And, I put out alerts on Bitcoin Live. I also do videos on Twitter. And I take a look at specific indicators that, really are the ones that kind of stick out in terms of what I'm watching for, in terms of the price action of Bitcoin and a lot of the altcoins I like to follow. Once again, guys, thanks for giving a follow, and how about a thumbs up if you guys are following me on this Saturday night of interesting Bitcoin sideways price action through most of our week here and into our weekend, with kind of a variation of some altcoins being able to take advantage of a lot of this at least Bitcoin stability, and use that to have kind of bullish expanses of their own charts in their own outrights. So we can take a look at those as well. I just wanted to start with Bitcoin's 4-hour chart. Just the fact that we've been ranging in an extremely tight Bollinger Band pattern. We have several candles that intra-candle, whether it's bearish or bullishly, is able to break through the upper Bollinger or lower Bollinger, and yet still close within it in this very tight range that has held since the last couple days of February. Or the last day of February, I guess, February 28 days there. So we've been using our middle Bollinger kind of as our range here on this very tight 4-hour after being expanded incredibly wide here on our very bearish break. So very sideways in the 4-hour, very sideways on the 6-hour as well. Okay, so we're starting to get this leveling we have on higher time frames that is going to suggest that a more notable move, more bigger move in the near future is basically about to take place. Now, as we close out their candle tomorrow, I really think the shape of our weekly candle is really going to tell the tale about what we can look forward to, or what's in store for us potentially into next week's price action, which really does represent our first true full week in March and our price action of Bitcoin there. So, we're sideways on the 4, we're sideways on the 6. Okay, we're still pretty wide on our 12-hour chart here, hitting middle Bollinger resistance, hitting lower Bollinger support. Daily chart is really where I want to focus on, how we continue to hold the middle Bollinger as, and let's face it here, this is still a flag pattern. It's still a bearish flag pattern. Right? We had our drop, we had our flagpole drop. Several days here of this continuation of our flag. We haven't extended too far yet into our flagpole range. And because we've already set the parameters for our bottom, 36.58, and our top, about 3,900, we have a range of this, $300 range here where we can still hit resistance, still hit support, still be in our flag overall until this equilibrium overall is broken. Now, what will break that equilibrium is a break of one of these two areas here. Then you have to ask yourself, well, is the market going to take profit with said break above this area, or reload on longs with another intra-candle break of the middle Bollinger? The volume is the thing that kind of keeps me leaning towards the very suspicious of how we're holding this area side. We can argue, yes, there's definitely a lack of selling at this area here. We clearly have a support that steps in when Bitcoin breaks below this, or at least back into the $3,700 range. So that is true. However, we're unable to obtain that breakaway push as we have declining volume, especially declining bull volume over the past several days now. Even our higher candle here, which was bearish, still the follow-up to that has been a lower low and then again a lower low. So we're still seeing, as we head into the last day of the week and the first week in the month of March, that we're still just hanging on to our middle Bollinger. A break puts lower BB price action in play back in the 3500s, and it's hard to argue that area once again being tested is kind of really put a lot of confidence into the price action that pushes us back over 4K once again. We still have many obstacles to contend with, but because we've been able to range in this sideways pattern for so long, after having our bearish break, we've been able to establish support areas, which for a very long time had been resistance areas. So let's bring those up here. We're still on our daily Bitcoin chart. We're finding MA100 support. We're finding MA50 support continuously. And, both of them are beginning to curve here. Okay, they're beginning to curve up, cradling Bitcoin as support. And that's notable in the sense that we want these two MAs over our higher time frame, the daily chart, to hold. We can still also keep in mind our MA200 still over $5,000. Over 5,000 still, and we got a couple days until it actually breaks through that 5K area and begins to come down into an area where you could logically potentially target bullishly if that was going to be the case. Now, because of that untouched MA200 on the daily, where we've seen many altcoins touch the MA200 in a much more bullish push in terms of valuation, while Bitcoin's been able to rise and range in this area here. So we have three key moving averages on our daily chart. I'm going to bring up our weekly chart because we start the last day of our weekly candle. Excuse me for a moment here. And we have a couple things that are still in play here. We still have this bearish cross of an MA50 to 100. This can be a lagging indicator in what could potentially happen. Now, we could argue that it restricted last week's bullish price action with our sell-off, as we were able to get above the 4K area intra-week, but close substantially well below it. Still finding MA200 support. MA200, people, is our red line here. And the reason that the MA200 moving average 200, simple moving average 200 on the weekly chart is such an important line is because of the history Bitcoin does have with it. And for that, I do want to go to a higher time frame history chart, our BLX, our old friend BLX. Get rid of my volume here for just a moment, kind of clean the chart up. So I'm still using my longer historic Bitcoin price action with my MA200, my MA100, and my MA50. And we do have history with the interaction where the MA200 on the weekly chart in the historic, going back close to the beginning, back to 2010 July. I know there's a little history potentially before such. But we have a blueprint for Bitcoin's price interaction with the MA50, which first climbed high, MA100, which began to follow in the bullish fan out of Bitcoin's 2013-2014 bullish parabolic move, and which brought in this wave here of intense, 10x price action in Bitcoin, more 10x plus in the September to November price range of 2013. I do remember this. And when we came back, when we broke our parabola and we consolidated. We had initial price action support on our MA50, followed by a double touch break, backtest resistance, break, fail, and continue lower until it hit the MA100. And then it had a little wiggle ziggle on the MA100 through October of 14, November of 14, December of 14. Okay, trying to use the MA100 as support, trying to at least get back up to the MA50 for a double back test. And I couldn't do that as well until finally the MA200 was breached intra-week, held as support, and Bitcoin rode the MA200 for January through the April, May, June, July, August, broke and closed right on it for several months through August, September, okay? And then it wasn't until October where it actually still, by riding the MA200, broke out bullishly and thus started our next parabolic move. And thusly, our longer-term MAs, our 100, which was above our 50, and our 200, okay, then got into place, and then you had the proper bullish expanse where you want your lower indicators higher and your higher time indicators lower. So the 50, then the 100, then the 200. And that didn't even happen until May of 2016 when Bitcoin was around $400. Okay, so this pattern of a bullish expanse where the higher time frame cradles the next one, or the lowest time frames are at the highest. Okay, now we fast forward to today, and we're just in the, almost feels like the infancy, if you will, of this corrective pattern here, where we're just for the first time crossing our most bullish indicators, having our MA50 above our 100, above our 200. Okay, so we have a history where the failure of our move here, which really is the first time the MA50 crosses below the MA100, corresponds more or less with like less than a third of our way through our consolidation period of the unwinding of Bitcoin's last parabolic move to $1,000. And now we have, are we comparing the support now of the MA200 combined with the crossing of the 50 and the 100? Can we equally, and this is what my point is here, can we equally compare this price action, to what's happening now? And I say no. I say nay. I say this is the beginning of this corrective move here. Not the beginning. This is earlier in this corrective move. Okay, maybe closer to the middling than the ending, because of the hyper move of this wave and the length so far of its unwinding, where the previous cycle took, from the peak of December of 2013 to the valley of January of 15. And now this move here is going to be exponentially longer, I feel, in the duration of the correction, of the market correction, and of the market revaluation of Bitcoin. And that's what we're talking about here. What is the market value, the revaluation of Bitcoin, to get it back on a trajectory where it can continue to put in higher highs, and advance into another parabola breakout? So I'm talking about these longer term scenarios while we're keeping into context where we are in the unwinding still. And yes, this is still the bear market. This is still the unwinding of the incredible parabolic move that took Bitcoin from the lows of $100 to $20,000 in the matter of 700 days, 800 days. That's the tremendous move of this Apollo mission style rocket ship. And I feel, even though we're a year out from the peak, and where we've given up a percentage. Oh, I have these up. Okay, we're giving up longer time period considerable from our peak to trough of the last time. Wait, is that right? Let's see here. Peak to trough? Nope. Oh, peak to breakout. No, so this needs to be back there. There we go. 399-ish days. Peak market Bitcoin 20K. 399. Okay, so we're already longer, which means that $3,500 must be the bottom, right? Because we're 400 days, we have this primer, we have a relative example of what happens in a Bitcoin bearish market, okay? But we can't compare these the same way. We just can't do that. Even just from the appearance of them, and we can even do this in log scale. Let's do it in log scale. Let's get it. Let's get it. Now, logarithmically speaking, okay, we've been on an uptrend forever in Bitcoin's price history. Granted, we have clearly a lower trajectory from a straight up approach to a kind of sideways fluttering approach to a kind of a longer, still up, still relatively up, obviously, but we're spreading wider here in our moves. And when we do have these corrective moves in the price action of Bitcoin, because listen, this chart here, this is all the history we have to work with, okay? We have over 100 years of Dow Jones. We have over 35 years of NASDAQ, okay? But we only have about, 9-10 years, 10 and change years of Bitcoin. And on this chart here, we have about 9 years of Bitcoin price action, and more or less the rise from pennies to dollars to, $20, $30, and then back to $2. I mean, where do you begin? 40 cents, 20 cents, 1 cent? 1 cent up to $30, right? Well, a 93% retracement of that, blessed retracements in the history of Bitcoin. Okay, but we have an example of how high we can get in that by starting from our basically swing low to swing high. Now, our previous other swing low of around, $150, $170, okay, to our Bitcoin 20K does what? Well, if we're going to continue to use history as an example, the 2014 fractal isn't the only fractal out there. You can't ignore the 2011 fractal. And the chance that, yes, a 93% pullback from all-time high, from the all-time low of the move, is still a possibility, which could be a $1,500 Bitcoin price action. And that in itself makes us go, and sets the possibility that, yes, further downside is not just possible, but I still feel inevitable. And the inevitability of retesting key areas of untested, very quick bullish price history in Bitcoin in the 1700s, the 2400s, 2300s, the 2000 Bitcoins, let's just call it, okay, is also inevitability in itself. A break of the MA200, which is our red line here, is inevitable. It's just inevitable. When you factor in the lack of money coming into our market, okay, just the chart itself, the fundamentals of the chart, and even with the fact that Bitcoin and the 17 million or so that are currently out there Therefore, the scarcity ratio of the valuation, the warranting of a $3,000 plus or even a $4,000 plus Bitcoin with the stability to hold and grow off of that is not there, with so much yet to be tested, I believe, on the lower time pyramid indicators. Whew, that was heavy. And lastly, I'll just bring up one more thing here. Looking at our monthly chart, I love this. I love this because this is just crazy. I'm still in logarithmic scale, okay? And logarithmic monthly chart, as we expand on the price history arc of Bitcoin, okay, new longer-term moving averages will come into play. On the monthly BLX, we have a lot of history with our MA50. Okay, it showed up August of 2014 because we finally had 50 months of BLX history, and the moving average of such price history brought it to here. We also see MA50 was tested and held support of Bitcoin price action similarly to the MA200 did on the weekly back here and again back on the double test. That's notable. We also note it has yet to be tested, right? It is yet to be tested in this current corrective period, where it was definitely shown to be intra-month broken here and here, but never closed below. Okay, now we see that our MA100 did show up for the first time on October of 2018 with 100 months and the BLX in the bag. And there it is, slowly rising and around $1,600. And as we get into June, could be as high as $1,800 and also yet to be untested. So the presumption that the MA50, which has held support before, could be tested and held support again is there as well. And right now, that's still around, $3,200, which we also know corresponds with our weekly MA200. A little higher, actually, Wow, the MA200 is really rising there, almost $3,400. Good for it. But the confluence of these two MAs and the potential / inevitable break of them does put the MA100 for the first time in play, just as the MA50 was in play so many years ago, 2015. Okay? Who's in the chat room tonight? 74 of my closest friends tonight. JC Crypto, Martin, Miguel, Anthony Hardy, Random Socks, Sopran, CDS, Darly Boy, Sander, what's up, AT? Hello, Muhammad Kanan, Wizard of Do It Land, Kamojawin, Shirine, hello, Chuck. Hello, Valdevav, Krishna, TJO002. Good evening, everybody. Happy Saturday night. Joining me March 2nd. Hello, Luis. Hello, Mark. Hello from London. All right, across the pond. I want to talk about these higher time frames, these higher time scales, because we get so, drowned in the minutia of the 4 hour and the 6 hour and the daily time frames. And there's so much great history to kind of chow through and get a real true sense and a real realistic sense kind of where we are and where we're going here. I mean, it's very hard pressed to find an asset like this in only 9 years to exceed the amount of valuation advance that we have here in Bitcoin. I mean, you literally have something that went from nothing to a lot and is still up a lot and can go down still a lot and still be up a lot from its initial inception. So obviously everything is relative. If you're the person that bought in Bitcoin over 10,000 versus the person that bought in Bitcoin in the hundreds, and has it been holding ever since, or got some good profit towards the top and has been scaling back in ever since. We're on our monthly chart, and I'm gonna zoom back to our Bitcoin on our Coinbase here. And for the first month in 7, we closed green. And I'm going to bring up my Bollingers and close my MAs for a moment here. Get out of auto, get out of log, go back to linear. And we have good history of our middle Bollinger resistance, support, resistance on the back tests. And we have started the month of March still over $6,800. Our lower Bollinger at $1,400. Remember, this has been rising hundreds of dollars every month. And once again, we're getting closer month by month to the current price action and monthly candle of Bitcoin. Now, yes, we can note we had a bullish engulfing candle. It could be considered a bottom hammer. Okay, it's something that we definitely clearly had a sell-off rejection, and not just a rejection, but a rejection once again in a key area where for 3 months we have been rejected every time the $4,100 area has been breached. We don't tend to hold up there very long or even get above it for very long, but we've done it for 3 consecutive months. So even though we were talking about 3 consecutive months of being above 4K, we also have 3 consecutive months of not being able to hold 4K. And our ever elusive lower Bollinger on our monthly with our still very wide, like great white shark wide monthly Bollinger profile. Now our weekly Bollingers, okay, still wide, not as tight. And near term, we've yet to touch our middle BB, which is at $4,300, which can be still in play. And I say this because we have touched it a couple times along the way with a wick out of our tether pump, a rejection here, but an intra-week we broke through it, and we actually closed above it here on this move here as well before an initial rejection of it. So we have a lot of history with our middle Bollinger, touching it, rejecting it. But we also have history where we couldn't get back up to it. We couldn't even rise to the occasion on our last attempt to get up there before the inevitable Bitcoin break out and breakdown of Bitcoin. So the touch of Bitcoin middle Bollinger is definitely a possibility because it has yet to be touched. And because of the lower Bollinger support hold so many weeks ago, I target our middle Bollinger as our next area to basically tackle. Now, this attempt was close, and the range between where we currently are and where we could get, it's almost another $500 in our price action. But just as our elusive lower Bollinger on our monthly is still up in my eye, the lower Bollinger on the weekly at 2K, and pretty darn flat here while it's waiting for the upper BB to begin to chase down here. Okay, still over 6K. This is going to fall quickly over the next couple weeks here, much more rapidly as these tighten. So there's precedent for this ranging above 3K but below the low $4,200 area to be sandwiched in this area, corresponding with MA 200 support and middle Bollinger resistance. And this is what's tightening us up here. Middle Bollinger resistance, MA 200 support. Let's check out the daily, the Ichimoku, because we are still in our cloud. We are finding Kaijin Sen support 2 times here. Interesting tap. Look how our Kaijin Sen and our middle BB right there. Nice little cross there. Like, this is still solid, but again, we're just sandwiched. Kaijin Sen support, Tenkan Sen resistance. WTF. With overall cloud support as low as 36s and overall cloud resistance as high as the 48s. And still wide here. Remember, every other lower time frame, we're still... Ooh, actually, I take that back. We're just holding the 12-hour support. Interesting. Okay, we're back into the cloud on the 6th, still bullish. 4-hour, still... Ooh. Okay, we're starting to lose a little steam here on lower time frames. We're still bullish on higher time frames, still with a bullish TK Kumo twist there. And on the 2-day, finding Tenkan Sen, and the 3-day as well, finding Tenkan Sen support. So cloud overall is still bullish, but we're losing a little steam on our lower time frame indicators where we were in the inverse, where those were actually showing much more strength before. They're actually showing they're a little bit tired. 1200 and 200. What is that? Okay. So I'm on the daily as well. I have EMA 26, EMA 12. Okay, EMA 12 is still bullishly holding Bitcoin price action support. Not only are we still holding our bull cross from mid-February, but we are also ranging higher. And once we had used our EMA 12 as resistance, we're now using it as support. As we've started our new day. Now, we're only an hour into this candle here, okay? So I'm not going to go all loop-de-loo about the support, but I like for day 2 here, we closed above it. Okay, we closed above it, and we can continue to do so. We can range higher, still using our EMA 26, down at 37.47 and rising as a fail-safe support if the EMA 12 does fail to hold. Okay, a couple more things on Bitcoin, and then we'll check out a couple other ones here. 12. Let's pull back our volume once again. Oh yeah, let's do a real quick TDs. See what's going on here. Again, monthly. Okay, we started a month a red 8. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be a red 8 until we can get back over 4K, and then it could actually be a green 1. But we got to get above, and we got to close above 4K in March to get above and to actually 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, to make this red 8 on the monthly a green 1. Weekly is a green 4. We're still mid-cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as long as we're above 3,500, it will continue the green count. 3-day, we are in a price flip after a green 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we close above 3,900, we actually get to a green 9 on the 3-day, which would be a completion of a 9 after a completion of a red 9, which would be notable as well. 2-day, we already completed a 9, and we are still in a bearish price flip. And you know, we're on a bearish flip on the 3, and we're still got one more day left in this candle here. So this will be interesting here, because right now the 2-day is saying bearish. The daily, man, see, with this price action here, the daily is just going to be just bupkis. I know it is going to be bupkis because there's nothing here. We're just super sideways. Yeah, no counts here. 15-minute, 5 minute? Nothing. Yeah, okay, so we're really just talking about our much higher time frames because of our dead stick price action here. And that's where really I would look at our 3 day and our 2 day, which are still kind of leaning slightly bearish, or at least with a corrective pattern over the next couple days still. Now that I would argue for sure. I want to look at longs and shorts, and then we can go right to a couple altcoins. Bitcoin longs have deleveraged quite a bit over the past couple weeks. Let's bring up the weekly just because we can see how we're pulled off the lows of this week, but definitely deleveraged a lot. Still holding a higher low, still 24,000 Bitcoin longs holding. And overall this chart is back to kind of the mid-range of where it normally ends up when it decides to go to its next direction here. So longs, though higher than shorts, are not really over leveraged. Now shorts here, it just feels like they're just not ready to short this market just yet. You could argue another pump higher might actually be able to induce shorts to rise into another break of Bitcoin $4,000. It'd actually be kind of interesting to see if that possibility can happen. But for now, I think shorts could be positioned to hold support here. Again, this is historic support. We're well below our line of volatility. But we're in a historic area of previous resistance, turn support here and here in the overall chart here. So we're looking to see this area hold in our shorts and rise accordingly. That always sounds funny. All right, let's look at Litecoin. Because let's face it, if there has been a bullish chart, Litecoin is in. Now let's just face it, the weekly candle of Litecoin last week, even though of the big sell-off of getting to big Litecoin 53 and actually closing down to 43, the $10 sell-off there, big percentage gain loss, was still able to close green on a very high volume candle here. And then the follow-up week to just have, this is the last day of the week, get 22 hours left in the week to go of this candle here, and to have made up so much of last week's sell-off just shows how strong continually Litecoin is, and almost in this flagging pattern still on the weekly chart with volume of note. Now we have a couple things here, and I want to also look at the BTC pairing because I want to clean this. Just want to clean the chart up here now that we've broken 50, a couple times. The 50 psychological resistance doesn't really seem like a big deal anymore. I think what's key is this little bit above 50 area now, and how the historic price action back here, and now the new price action once again here. It's the retest of support, turn resistance, and still acting as resistance. So even though this chart is bullish from Litecoin 20s, we are still basically getting pretty resisted, even with this week's bullish continuation so far of this $51 to $52 range up to 53. Our extension overall of our bottom current to our first wave to our retest support is of the 1236 extension, which was at 53.87. And we literally topped off at 53.49, so within pennies, of that resistance area. Remember, guys, tips are always appreciated. Just saying. So already a very good extension of our initial impulsive wave, and still potentially a wave 3 of our overall potential very bullish pattern, which could be a wave 4 retest no lower than $40, and something like that, like a $59 Litecoin top off, corresponding with a resistance there, and corresponding with an extension of wave 3 of around the the 618 5860 area there. This is still a pattern, a bullish impulsive wave that can still be in play. Even with this extension here, we might already be in the wave 4 here if Litecoin is as bullish as it is. We didn't really take a very long time to bring back our 2, so our 4 could be even shorter. We'll see how tomorrow we close out this week, because this is still the weekly chart. We could definitely be still consolidating. As long as we go above 40, this scenario for one more push in the high 50s of Litecoin is definitely in the possible range. And the fact that the Litecoin RSI is, I really wanted to say the Litecoin RSI was above 50, but it's not. It's at 49. Still much more bullish than Bitcoin, but it's below 50, which means it's not there yet on the weekly. And this 50 area of Litecoin could be actually a very interesting resistance area. I want to bring up the LTC BTC pairing, which the ratio, this is the ratio of Litecoin to Bitcoin, much more bullish, okay? Has had a much more bullish chart here, okay, than the actual USD comparison, from its initial impulsive wave to just a very one candle pullback on the weekly, to again finding this 1, 2, 3 resistance. Okay, but a lot of resistance, right? Still, like right here. So we're still seeing that continue to play through as a resistance area plays hold. 1 second here, guys. All right, we're back. So resistance right here in Litecoin continues. And whether this is the continuation of the halving, which is in August, thanks DC Boogie, which we've seen a expansion of Litecoin months prior to that halving in historic history. But we're still in this flagging pattern here. Litecoin is still very bullish, and we tend to see it as a trendsetter in this market. But we're also seeing it have a very hard time getting above 50 once again. Even as Bitcoin is still able to range in the $3,800 zone. I want to talk about Ethereum. Where are you, Ethereum? Because we've already been through Constantinople, and listen, I mean, how is last week's candle not a gravestone doji? How is this not a gravestone doji? And how is this week's candle not a little spinning top indecision doji? But we know that the fork is done. Successful or not, the fork is done. Yes, Ethereum. We also have a good extension of a 786 extension of our initial wave 1. And we're just finding the support of our 382 of that extension continuing to hold, with 1 day left to go in our weekly candle. Ethereum bullish, but less bullish than Litecoin has been. And now that the fork is done, what's the bullish case for Ethereum? Can somebody tell me what the bullish case is now for Ethereum? I don't know. It's hard to say now that the news event is over. What is the purpose for Ethereum continuing to range higher in the $100 range here? Quickly here, Bitcoin Cash. Okay, this one has been like such a laggard, but it can be super beast mode too as well if it does decide to rip. Again, I'm on my weekly chart. Remember, this thing in a week went from $80 to $228. Has been consolidating. Okay, had a little bit of a rip back from 120 to 157. Wasn't able to get up, and has a much lower volume profile. Remember, this guy is split between itself and where the heck is its counterpart here? The BCHSV, which actually has been a little bit more bullish in its little staggering up here, but it's definitely given up a little bit. It's been still consolidating in the mid 60s. I don't know what's going on with these two. And they're still significantly less than their pre-fork split. A lot of these altcoins have a similar chart. Ethereum Classic, trying to follow on the coattails of Ethereum, as well as a little bit more of a bullish sense here. Still in these flagging, almost pennant-like patterns here. Okay, still with this lower high overall. A lot of these alts hugging Bitcoin's price action. Get some EOS, for instance, tremendous expansion. And now we're watching the pullback of EOS find support at the still very bullish 382 support. Okay, watch this 236. If we can get above 383 on EOS, USDT, Bitfinex, okay, this could do another leg. But resist that, and the 382 becomes a resistance as well. I've been looking for, again, a full at least 55 to 61 pullback of the move in the high $2 range. But you'll know the volume will show up, and the break of 382, 3.83 on the 236 can definitely bring us one more leg to the apex triangle of $5.40. Now, this would coincide with Bitcoin getting that last push to about $4,300. I could totally see EOS, because EOS has been just a rock star more bullishly from a percentage standpoint as well. And we've seen this historically, that EOS tends to rip a lot faster and stronger than Bitcoin has when it does rip. Volume indicator, historic here. Watching this get back to a lower area where we tend to see volatility come in to Bitcoin, or the 4-hour here. Okay, touch volatility, touch volatility, touch volatility. But our moves are also weaker. Deflationary, if you will. Okay, but again, keep an eye on this. We touch this line here, this green one, and we tend to get a little spike in something going on. Can Litecoin lead the way? Can Ethereum lead the way? Only Bitcoin can lead the way. Cryptocurrency market cap, 52% is Bitcoin's dominance, which means there's a lot of money in altcoins still. Look at our 7-day here. Look at these charts. dip sideways, dip sideways. Anything stand out? Ripple, this is the Coinbase listing. Kind of a dud if you ask me, right? You know, still holding a higher low, but barely. Litecoin, that's stronger. Binance Coin, BNB, still ripping. SV, still holding a little bit of a higher low, but gave some of that back. Look at all these. Look how similar all these coins look. This is telling me right here of the similarities of all these coins is that they're a lot tied now to Bitcoin because the momentum now is being focused clearly on Bitcoin's next move. Bitcoin can take the market higher. Bitcoin can take the market a heck of a lot lower. But the divergence between these altcoins seems to be waning as we get later on into this very tight consolidation here. So to sum up, let's keep it simple. Daily chart here. As long as middle Bollinger support holds on the daily chart, I will be targeting my upper Bollinger at 4,000 once again, signifying potentially a double top here. I'll be watching the volume to see if a break and a hold with an extension up to about 42 to 43 is achievable with that break, because our Bollingers are still pretty wide. There's a little deference, but I wouldn't get too hyper above our upper Bollinger or close above for more than just one candle. If we fail to hold our middle Bollinger with lack of bull volume that is still not coming in as we speak, we're still not getting the bull volume that we want to see even with our support. A break of the middle BB, and I think we go down. A little support in the 35s, but I don't like it. I think we go down, and we go down fast. And we try and find lower Bollinger support around the 3,500, maybe in 34s again. And then potentially our longer term, higher time frame scenarios can play out. Okay, we want to be bullish. Believe me, bullish Bitcoin, bullish crypto helps us all. Okay, but we still have the sense that we have this triangle breakdown back here. And we have some sort of a triangle, building here. This bearish pennant. Or this flag still. Either way, this still can be a continuation period, which can once again bring the next level of price action history untested in this correction move, which is a Bitcoin sub $3,000. Guys, give me a follow on Twitter. Give me a thumbs up. A lot in that hour. Go over a lot of indicators and some of the things I talk about in my show here. Anything specific that you would like to talk about. And I will keep you guys posted on what my thoughts are on Bitcoin's price action as we close out another week. Last day of the week. Very tight price action on low volume once again. Okay, don't be fooled by these quick pumps. So far, every dip is being bought up, and every move higher is being sold off, creating a resistance of 3,900 and a support around 3,650, which means everything in between is just noise until proven otherwise. And with that, it's Big Chonis. I will talk to you soon. Peace.